I never thought refusing to help someone could make you feel worse than actually helping them. But here I am, sitting on my couch, staring at a half-finished cup of tea that's gone cold, replaying my cousin's voice over and over in my head, the way it cracked on the word homeless. It happened 2 nights ago, 9:47 p.m. exactly, because I remember glancing at the clock when my phone lit up with her name, Maya. My stomach sank before I even picked up. Maya doesn't call unless something's wrong. And when she does call, it's usually because she needs something. "Hey, sorry to call this late," she said, her voice unusually shaky. She didn't waste time on small talk. "I need $1,200 for rent. Like, by tomorrow. Or I'm out." I blinked, trying to process. Wait, $1,200? Tomorrow? Yes. My roommate bailed on her half. I've been scrambling, but my landlord doesn't care. I've tried everyone else. You're literally my last option. Here's the thing about Maya. She's not a bad person. She's fun, generous to a fault when she has money, and she's been there for me emotionally through some really rough patches. But she's also impulsive. She's the kind of person who buys concert tickets before paying her bills, who books a weekend trip to Florida because it was on sale, even though she's behind on her credit card. We grew up more like siblings than cousins. Our moms are sisters, and our families lived only 15 minutes apart. Summers were spent at my grandma's house, running through sprinklers, eating popsicles, and staying up way too late watching movies in her basement. She was my partner in crime back then. But as adults, our paths split. I took a cautious route, worked through college, took an office job in accounting, built up savings. Maya drifted from job to job, apartment to apartment, always a little bit in chaos. And here's the ugly truth. I could afford to help her. My savings account has enough for a rainy day, and then some. But the second she asked, this knot formed in my chest. Because this wasn't the first time. Last year it was her car payment. $600 she promised to pay back in a couple weeks. That turned into 6 months of vague excuses before she eventually Venmo'd me $200 and never mentioned the rest. Before that, it was $400 for a security deposit when she couldn't get the money in time. Both times, she swore it was the last time she'd ever ask. And yet, here we were again. I hesitated. "Maya, I can't do that this time." Silence. Then, a quiet, incredulous laugh. "Can't or won't?" I bit my lip. "Won't. I can't keep bailing you out. It's not good for either of us." There was a pause long enough for me to hear my own heart pounding in my ears. Then she said, voice cold now, "Wow. Got it. Guess I know where we stand." And she hung up. I sat there for a good 5 minutes, staring at my phone, expecting her to call back or at least text me something angry. Nothing came. The next day, my phone blew up. First it was my aunt, a long, guilt-soaked paragraph about how family sticks together and one day you might be the one who needs help. Then my mom called, not to yell, but to say in that disappointed tone that cuts deeper than shouting, "I just wish you'd reconsider. You two were so close." By lunchtime, my brother sent me a screenshot from Facebook. It was Maya's post. My name wasn't in it, but the passive-aggressive tone was unmistakable. Crazy how people with plenty will watch family sink instead of helping. Karma will get you. Her friends were commenting things like, "Some people just don't get loyalty," and cut them off for good. A couple of my relatives had even liked it. Now, every time my phone buzzes, I tense up. Half my family thinks I'm selfish. The other half hasn't said anything, which might be worse. My mom's barely texting me. My aunt won't answer my calls. And Maya? Still nothing since that night. And the thing is, I'm not heartless. I don't want her to be homeless. But I also can't keep feeling like her safety net forever. It's exhausting, and I'm tired of being the responsible one who's expected to swoop in whenever someone else's plans fall apart. Still, I can't shake the guilt. Maybe I should have just given her the money one last time. Maybe I'm overthinking it. The morning after Maya's Facebook post, I woke up to a string of unread messages that made my stomach twist. At 6:42 a.m., my aunt had sent another paragraph, this time more heated. "I can't believe you're really letting her go through this. You have no idea how much she's struggling right now. If you loved her like a sister, you'd help. What's money compared to keeping a roof over family's head?" Then, a text from my mom. "Please, call me. We need to talk." And then, the cherry on top, a group chat ping from my cousin Jared, her brother, who rarely texts me about anything. "Wow. Didn't think you'd be the type to watch family crash and burn." That one stung. mostly because Jared and I have always gotten along. I didn't even respond. I didn't trust myself not to snap. I went about my morning pretending everything was fine. Shower, coffee, scrolling through emails at the kitchen counter. But my brain kept looping back to that Facebook post. I could practically see the comment section growing with each passing hour. By 9 a.m., my mom finally called again. I answered, bracing myself. "Hi," I said, trying to sound normal. "Don't hi me. This thing with Maya," she sighed heavily. "She's packing right now. She said she's going to have to leave by the weekend if she can't come up with the money." My jaw tightened. I told her I can't. "You can," my mom interrupted. "You just don't want to." That sentence was like a slap. My mom has always been the one person in my life who's never questioned my intentions. "It's not that simple, Mom. I've helped her before. Every time, she says it's the last time. Then here we are again." "She's your family," Mom said quietly. "If she ends up on the street, how will you feel?" I wanted to say something sharp, that it's not my job to fix every bad decision Maya makes, that giving her money without boundaries just keeps the cycle going. But instead, I said nothing. I just let the silence sit until Mom sighed again and said, "I hope you change your mind," before hanging up. The rest of the day, I threw myself into work, hoping to distract myself. But around 4 p.m., my phone buzzed again. This time, it was an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened and nearly dropped my phone. It was Maya. She sounded choked up. "Hey, I know you don't want to help me, but I'm out of options. I'm scared. I've been calling places all day, and no one will give me an extension. If I can't pay by tomorrow morning, I'll have to start moving my stuff. Please, just this once. I swear I'll pay you back." Hearing her voice like that made my chest ache. She wasn't angry in this message. She was desperate. For a second, I almost caved. I even opened my banking app. But then I remembered last spring, when she called me crying over her car getting repossessed, and how I sent her $600 without hesitation. How she avoided my calls for weeks afterward until she finally admitted she'd used half the money to go on a weekend getaway to clear her head. I closed the app. That night, I made dinner. Pasta with garlic bread, but barely touched it. I kept imagining her sitting in an empty apartment, taping up boxes. The guilt was eating at me, but so was the anger. How had I become the villain in my own family for not being her personal ATM? At 8:15 p.m., my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I looked through the peephole, my heart sank. It was Maya. She looked rough, hair messy, eyes puffy like she'd been crying for hours, hoodie zipped up all the way despite the warm night air. In her arms, she was holding a cardboard box full of random stuff, a lamp sticking out, a stack of books, a blanket. When I opened the door, she didn't even say hello. She just stepped inside, set the box down in my hallway, and said, "So, I guess I'm staying here for a bit." I blinked. "What? You won't give me the money, fine. But I'm not sleeping on the street. And Mom said you have a guest room." I felt the knot in my chest tighten until it was hard to breathe. "Maya, no. You can't just." She cut me off, her voice sharp now. "I'm not asking. I'm telling you. Your family. This is what family does." And just like that, I realized, saying no to the money was only the beginning. The box sat in my hallway like it weighed 100 pounds, even though it was just a jumble of Maya's things. She kicked off her sneakers like she'd lived here for years, then walked straight past me toward the kitchen. "Do you have anything to eat?" she called over her shoulder. I just stood there for a second, still processing the fact that she'd shown up uninvited. "Maya, you can't just move yourself in without asking me." She opened my fridge like it was hers, pulled out a bottle of iced tea, and took a long drink. "I didn't have anywhere else to go," she said finally, like that explained everything. "It's just until I figure something out." "You should have called first," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "You would have said no," she shot back, closing the fridge. "And honestly, I'm too tired for another fight." She brushed past me, heading toward the guest room at the end of the hall. I followed, my brain spinning. The room was tidy, fresh sheets, folded towels on the dresser, because I'd just had a friend visit last month. Now it was apparently Maya's. "Look," I started, "I get you're in a bad spot, but..." She turned, her eyes glassy. "But what? You'd rather I sleep in my car? You'd rather your own cousin be on the street?" That guilt punch again. I rubbed my temples. "That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you should have talked to me before making this decision for me." She just dropped her duffel bag onto the bed and started unpacking. You'll barely even notice I'm here, she said. The thing is, I did notice. By the next morning, I noticed a lot. She was up late that first night, watching Netflix in the living room until almost 2 a.m., loud enough that I could hear the dialogue through my bedroom wall. In the morning, the kitchen counter was littered with cereal bowls and an empty coffee mug with a dried brown ring in the bottom. My fridge door was hanging open when I walked in, and the iced tea bottle was half empty. I tried not to snap. I told myself, it's temporary. Just breathe. But then, at around noon, my phone buzzed with a group text from my aunt, my mom, and Maya, the family girls thread we've had for years. It was a picture of Maya smiling in my kitchen, holding up a plate of pancakes she'd made. The caption read, "See? She does have a heart." I didn't even know what to say. I put my phone down and walked away from it. Later that afternoon, my best friend, Allison, called. "So, Maya's living with you now?" My stomach dropped. "How do you know that?" "She posted a selfie from your couch," Allison said. And the caption was something like, "When they won't help you with money, but you move in any way." I groaned and pressed my palm against my forehead. Great. So now the whole world thinks I'm some villain who kicked her out into the street, but then felt guilty enough to take her in. Well, isn't that kind of what happened? Allison teased gently, but then she added, "Seriously though, you need boundaries. You've been bending over backwards for her for years." That evening, I decided to talk to Maya about ground rules. When I found her in the guest room, she was lying on the bed scrolling through her phone. "Hey," I started, "we need to talk about some house stuff." She didn't look up. "Like what?" "Like cleaning up after yourself. Not blasting TV at 2 a.m. And, you know, maybe asking before inviting people over." That made her look up. "Wow, I've been here for less than 24 hours and you're already making rules." "Yes," I said firmly. "Because this is my home, and I need to know this isn't going to turn into chaos." She rolled her eyes. "Relax. It's not like I'm throwing parties. I'm just trying to survive here." We went back and forth for a few minutes until she finally muttered, "Fine, whatever," and turned back to her phone. I left the room feeling like I'd just been brushed off. That night, I woke up at 1:30 a.m. to the sound of my front door opening. I got up and peeked out the window. Maya was outside, leaning against the railing, laughing with some guy I didn't recognize. They talked for a few minutes before he handed her something small, I couldn't tell what, and walked away. When she came back inside, she froze seeing me in the hallway. "What?" she asked. "Who was that?" "Just a friend," she said quickly. "Why are you up?" "Because you're coming and going in the middle of the night. In my house." She gave me a tired look. "You're overreacting." Maybe I was. Or maybe I wasn't. But as I stood there watching her disappear into the guest room, something told me this living arrangement was going to get a lot messier before it got better. And I had no idea just how right I was. The next few days were a strange mix of quiet tension and little annoyances that piled up faster than I could deal with them. Maya kept mostly to herself during the day, scrolling through her phone in the guest room, napping on the couch, making tea, and leaving the mugs on random surfaces like a trail of breadcrumbs. But at night, she turned into a ghost. Around 11 p.m., she'd put on a hoodie, grab her phone and keys, and slip out without saying where she was going. I told myself I wasn't her babysitter. She's an adult. She can do what she wants. But it was impossible not to notice when she'd come home at 2 or 3 a.m. smelling faintly of alcohol and something else I couldn't quite place. Not weed. Exactly. Something sharper, chemical almost. On the fourth night, I decided to stay up and see what she was actually doing. I sat on the couch with my laptop, pretending to watch videos, my ears tuned to every sound. At 11:12 p.m., the guest room door opened. Maya padded quietly down the hall, hoodie pulled up, sneakers in her hand. She froze when she saw me. "Hey," I said casually. She blinked. "Hey, you're up late. Could say the same about you." Her jaw tightened just slightly. "Going to see a friend. Don't wait up." And before I could respond, she slipped out the door. I watched from the window as she walked quickly down the street, turning the corner toward the bus stop. She didn't even glance back. When she got home at 3:04 a.m., she looked startled to see me still awake. "You're still up?" "Couldn't sleep," I said. She didn't offer any details, just disappeared into the guest room and closed the door. The next morning, I woke up to find my coffee creamer gone, my headphones missing from the kitchen counter, and my phone charger unplugged from beside my bed and plugged in next to her air mattress. That's when it hit me. It wasn't just the sneaking around. It was that she was starting to treat my place like hers in ways that made me feel displaced. By the end of that week, the family chat had become unbearable. My aunt posted a photo of Maya at some park, smiling with a caption like, "Grateful she's safe and has a place to stay for now." And then, in all caps, "Family takes care of family." I ignored it. But my brother texted me privately later. "Why is she always posting like she's a victim? People think you kicked her out of her own apartment." I told him the truth, that she'd just stopped paying her share when her roommate moved out, and instead of finding a cheaper place or getting a second job, she'd let it go until the eviction notice hit. His reply was short. "Does Mom know that?" And that's when I realized I wasn't sure who knew the actual story. From the way everyone was treating me, it was like Maya had painted herself as some poor, blindsided tenant who'd been wronged by a cruel landlord and now a selfish cousin. That Friday night, I decided I couldn't let this keep going without answers. When Maya went to take a shower, I knocked on the bathroom door. "What?" she called. "I need to talk to you when you're done," I said. Her voice was wary. "About what?" "You'll see." When she came out 20 minutes later, hair wet and wrapped in a towel, I was waiting in the kitchen. "We need to be honest about what's going on here," I said. She rolled her eyes. "Not this again." "Yes, this again. You're living here now, and I have no idea what you're doing every night. You're not looking for another place. You're not job hunting. And you're still making me look like the bad guy to the family." Her face hardened. "I'm looking for a place. And I'm not jobless, if that's what you're implying." "Then what are you doing at 2 in the morning?" She hesitated just a second too long. "I'm meeting people. Networking. You wouldn't understand." "Networking? At bars?" "God, you're so judgmental," she snapped. "I don't have to tell you everything." And with that, she stormed off to the guest room and slammed the door. I stood there, my hands clenched at my sides, my mind racing. Because now, I wasn't just annoyed. I was starting to get worried. Not just about my home, but about what Maya was getting herself into. 2 nights after that argument, I heard her again, the front door clicking shut around 11:15 p.m. I was lying in bed, but the sound jolted me awake. I thought about just rolling over and ignoring it, but something about the way she'd been acting had my gut twisting. I got up, pulled on a hoodie, and looked out my bedroom window just in time to see her crossing the street. She wasn't heading toward the bus stop this time. She was walking fast, her hood pulled low, toward the edge of the neighborhood where the streetlights get sparse. For a moment, I considered following her, but that felt a little too much like I was turning into a stalker. So instead, I stayed by the window and waited. When she came back around 2:30 a.m., she wasn't alone. A guy I'd never seen before was with her, tall, broad shoulders, wearing a leather jacket despite the warm night air. He followed her up my steps like he belonged there. My pulse spiked. I stepped into the hall just as they came through the door. "Oh hey," Maya said quickly, her smile too wide. "This is, Aaron. He's just here to hang out for a bit." Aaron gave me a small nod, but didn't offer his hand. His eyes flicked around my living room like he was taking inventory. "Maya, can I talk to you for a second?" I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. She rolled her eyes. "We just got here." "Now," I said firmly. We stepped into the kitchen, leaving Aaron in the living room. She crossed her arms, defensive. "What? You can't just bring strangers into my house in the middle of the night. I don't know him. You didn't ask." "He's fine," she said quickly. "He's a friend. You're overreacting." "I'm not overreacting. This is my home, my space, and I'm already letting you stay here rent-free while you sort yourself out." Her expression shifted, less defensive now, more irritated. "Right, because you're such a martyr. Do you want me to leave? Is that what this is about?" I lowered my voice. "No, I want you to respect that this isn't just your place to do whatever you want. And if you can't, then yeah, we'll have to rethink this arrangement." She huffed, brushed past me, and went back to Aaron. They stayed in the living room for another hour before he finally left, giving me one last unreadable glance on his way out. The next morning, I got a text from my mom at 8:07 a.m. "Maya said you embarrassed her in front of her friend last night. Was that necessary?" I stared at my phone, my chest tight. How did Mom know so fast? I typed back. "She brought some guy over at 2 in the morning without asking me." I didn't yell. I just told her it wasn't okay. No response. Around noon, while I was working at the kitchen table, I heard Maya on the phone in the guest room. She didn't realize I was right outside the door. "Yeah," She's being ridiculous. It's like she thinks she's my mom or something. I swear, she's just mad because I called her out about the rent thing. Whatever, I'll deal with it. I should have walked away, but I didn't. I froze there, listening. No, I'm not paying her. Why would I? She owes me for all the times I've had her back. If she kicks me out, she's gonna look like the bad guy, not me. That last part hit me like a slap. She wasn't just here because she had no choice. She was using the situation to make herself look good and me look terrible. That night, I locked my bedroom door for the first time since she moved in. The next day, things got worse. I came home from running errands to find my laptop open on the coffee table. I never leave it there. I always keep it in my office. My stomach dropped as I checked the browser history. It had been cleared, completely wiped. Maya, I called. She appeared from the hallway, phone in hand. Yeah. Were you on my computer? She didn't even blink. No. I held her gaze for a long second. She didn't flinch, didn't look guilty, just stared back like she was daring me to push it. That night, I texted Allison. I think I made a mistake letting her stay here. Allison's reply came fast. Think. Babe, you knew that the second she showed up with that box. And she was right. I had known. I just didn't realize how deep this was going to go. By the time the weekend rolled around, I was sleeping with my phone under my pillow like a teenager waiting for a late-night message. It wasn't healthy. I knew it. But living with someone who could turn my home upside down while I was in the shower had me wired like a fire alarm. Saturday morning started normal enough. I made oatmeal. Maya was asleep until noon. Around 12:30, she emerged in an oversized hoodie and sunglasses like the daylight offended her. She poured the last of my iced coffee into a mason jar, didn't ask, didn't look at me, and padded back to the guest room. Whatever. I told myself to choose peace. At 1:07 p.m., my phone buzzed with a fraud alert. Did you attempt a $498 purchase at Metro Connect Electronics online? Reply yes or a no. I stared at the message long enough for the oatmeal to go cold. I hadn't purchased anything. I typed in O with shaky thumbs and immediately opened my bank app. My heart crawled into my throat. 3 failed attempts had been blocked. One pending for $62 to a delivery app I'd never used. A new login from a device in my own city, 20 minutes earlier. I looked down the hall toward the guest room. The door was almost closed, a thin wedge of space showing the edge of the bed. I set my spoon down very carefully, my hands suddenly buzzing with adrenaline. Maya, I called, trying to keep my voice even. No answer. I walked down the hall, knocked. I need to talk to you. Silence. I pushed the door open. She was sitting cross-legged on the bed, phone in one hand, my laptop in the other. My laptop. The one I'd moved to my office and kept on a shelf. The one I was sure I'd left closed and password locked. She jumped like she'd been caught shoplifting. I was going to tell you, she blurted, too fast. I was just. Stop. My voice came out calm in that scary way you only get when you're past anger. What are you doing on my computer? Relax, she said, trying for a laugh that didn't land. I was looking for jobs. Isn't that what you wanted? I thought you'd be proud. I stepped closer. The browser window was open to a tab I didn't recognize, a weird payment portal with a neon logo, a place I'd never seen. Another tab showed a delivery service with my street address pre-filled. A third tab was a digital wallet with my email typed in the username field. The history was cleared, again, but she hadn't gotten to the open tabs. Move, I said softly. She didn't. I reached across and snapped the laptop shut. You do not open my computer. You do not order things with my accounts. You do not touch anything that is mine. She rolled her eyes, but her cheeks were flushed. It's not a big deal. I was testing if the delivery app still had your old card from last time we got takeout. I was going to pay you back. And the electronics thing? Erin needed. She stopped. Too late. Erin needed what? I asked. Her jaw tightened. Nothing. A notification flashed across my lock screen on the nightstand. My bank again. Attempted $62 charge reversed. I held up my phone so she could see. This is theft, Maya. This is my bank sending fraud alerts because of something happening in my house on my computer. She scoffed, but the sound was small. The bank reversed it. No harm. No foul. I just stared at her. I think, in that second, we both felt the line we'd been dancing on. She'd stepped over it. Maybe she didn't mean to. Maybe it was just testing, but she'd stepped. Get out of my room, I said, voice shaking now. Give me my laptop and get out. She clutched it tighter for a heartbeat, like a reflex, then shoved it into my hands. You know what? You're unbelievable, she snapped, standing. I try to find a way to fix things, and you act like I'm breaking into Fort Knox. You want me gone so badly? Fine. I'll go. Where? I asked genuinely. Where are you going? Her eyes flicked away. I'll stay with friends. People who actually support me. The ones coming over at 2 in the morning? The ones handing you things on the porch? The words were out before I could soften them. Is that support, or is that a problem? She inhaled sharply, chin lifting. Wow, you really do think I'm a disaster. I think you're drowning and pulling me under with you, I said, and it was the first time I'd said the truest thing out loud. I won't let you. Her face went flat, cold in a way I'd never seen on her. She picked up her phone and, right in front of me, opened the family group chat. Her thumbs flew. Since everyone is asking, I'm leaving OP's place today. She accused me of stealing and said I'm a burden. Guess some people only help when it makes them look good. The ping echoed on my phone in the same room, like a slap. I took a breath. Maya, stop twisting this. Or what? She said. You gonna kick me out on the sidewalk? Record it for your accountant friends? I walked out before I said something I couldn't take back. I went straight to my office, shut the door, and changed every password I could think of. Email, bank, digital wallet, streaming services, even the grocery app. Then I opened my social accounts and took screenshots of everything. Her public post about karma, the comments, the timestamps. If this turned into a he said, she said, I wanted a paper trail. My phone rang while I was mid-password change. Mom. I almost didn't answer. I did. What is going on? She demanded, no hello. Maya says you're accusing her of theft. She was on my laptop trying to make purchases with my accounts, I said, as evenly as possible. My bank flagged it. They blocked the charges. She said she was ordering groceries for the house. Mom shot back. She said you never have anything she can eat. Mom, I said, and my voice cracked in a way that surprised me. Do you hear yourself? You know me. You know I would buy groceries if she asked. She didn't ask. She lied. There was a pause, not long, but long enough to feel it. I don't know what to think anymore, Mom said. You two need to work this out. I'm coming over. Please don't, I said, but she'd already hung up. 10 minutes later, there was a knock. Not Mom. Too soon. I checked the peephole. Aaron. He stood on the porch with his hands in his jacket pockets, looking bored. Behind him, parked halfway in front of my driveway, was a gray sedan idling with music thumping soft through closed doors. I opened the door, but left the chain on. What do you want? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Maya asked me to help her grab her stuff. We'll be quick. She's packing, I said. She doesn't need help. I didn't move to open the door. His smile flattened into something like impatience. Come on. I'm doing a favor. Maya appeared behind me in the hallway with a duffel over her shoulder. Her voice floated forward like a stage cue. Let him in, it's fine. It's not, I said without turning around. He's not coming inside. Aaron's gaze ticked past my shoulder, like he was trying to see around me. You really going to make this weird? He took a small step closer to the door, and the posture shift made every nerve in my body scrape raw. Back up, I said quietly. He lifted his hands, palms out. Relax. Maya pushed to my side. You're being dramatic, she said, her voice pitched high. He's helping me carry boxes. This isn't a moving crew situation, I said. You brought one duffel and a cardboard box. If you need a ride, call a cab. Something in her face changed. The brittle surface cracked, and something hot and mean flared under it. I knew you'd do this. Make a scene so you can tell everyone you tried. You're scared I'll leave because then you can't keep holding this over my head like a prize. Please stop, I said. Please. Behind us, the hallway felt too narrow. The guest room door gaped open like a pulled tooth. In the living room, a notification popped on the TV, my bank, again. I ignored it. My skin buzzed with the urge to get everyone out, to wipe my counters, to lock every door. Aaron lowered his hands, looked at Maya, and said, Let's just go. He jerked his head at the gray sedan. We're wasting time. She looked at me one last time, eyes shining with something that was not sadness. You're going to regret this, she said softly. Not a threat. A promise. She grabbed the cardboard box from the hall. I stepped back, not to help, just to give space. She brushed past me, and Aaron followed, shoulder close enough to mine that the fabric of his jacket whispered against my sleeve. The chain scraped as I unhooked it just enough to swing the door wide. They moved down the steps and across the walk. Halfway to the sedan, the box tipped. A pile of loose items skittered across the concrete. Bracelets, a makeup bag, a stack of unopened envelopes. One slid right to my foot. I bent on reflex and picked it up. It was a letter. Official looking. I didn't recognize the sender until my eyes hit the return address. State Unemployment Insurance Division. I froze. The letter had my name on it. I blinked, reread, felt my stomach do a slow, cold turn. The letterhead, the print. Confirmation of direct deposit change, it said. Your benefits will now be deposited to the account ending in, not my account number. Not even close. Maya. I called, my voice too loud, too thin. She turned, her face tight. I held up the letter. What is this? She didn't answer. Her eyes flicked to Aaron, then back to me. Why do I have a letter from the state about my benefits being sent to a different account? I asked, each word clipped because my mouth had gone dry. You weren't supposed to see that, she said, and the way she said it made my hands go cold. Aaron took a step closer to her, all casual on the surface. Let's go, he repeated. I looked down at the envelope again, at my name on the window, at the wrong numbers. I thought about the laptop, the cleared history, the night whispers on the porch, the bank alerts, the way my mother's voice had sounded on the phone, like a judge balancing scales she didn't want to hold. Maya, I said, and my voice shook. Did you change my deposit information? Did you use my accounts? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence said enough. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another alert, another tiny siren. Behind me, a car door opened on the street, and someone from the sedan leaned out, called to Aaron to hurry up. I took a step back into my doorway, clutching the envelope like a lifeline. My mind was already racing ahead. Bank, state office, police report. Words I never thought I'd put in the same sentence as my cousin's name. I looked up to tell Maya she couldn't leave with my mail. To say we were going to sit down, right now, and call someone official. To say something I could never take back. But before I could speak, there was another knock behind me. Sharp, heavy, authoritative, from the other side of my door, inside the house, like the sound had come from the hallway itself. Except I hadn't closed the door. I turned, heart in my throat. And standing there, framed in my doorway, was my mother. She'd let herself in with the spare key I'd forgotten she had, and she'd heard enough to make her face go a color I'd never seen on her before. Not anger exactly, not shock, something colder. Start talking, she said, looking not at me, but at Maya over my shoulder. And for the first time since this whole thing began, it wasn't just me and Maya in a tug of war. There was a third pair of hands on the rope, and I had no idea which way everything was about to pull. Mom didn't move from the doorway, and neither did Maya. The space between them felt like a live wire, thin, invisible, but sparking with every heartbeat. Aaron shifted his weight beside the box on the sidewalk, glancing between the two women like he'd wandered into the wrong scene. The sedan idled at the curb, bass still thumping low. I held up the envelope. Mom, this came for me. My benefits, someone changed the deposit account. Mom's eyes flicked down to the letter, then back to Maya. Is that true? Maya didn't answer right away. She let out a small, incredulous laugh. Wow, you're really going to believe this over me? She jerked her chin toward me. She's been looking for a reason to make me the villain since I moved in. I stepped forward. The bank flagged charges from my accounts, Mom. My laptop's been tampered with. And now this letter? It's not a coincidence. Mom turned to me, her face tight. Why didn't you tell me about the bank stuff? I did. I said, my voice rising. You didn't want to hear it. The words hung there. Mom flinched. Maya broke in, her voice dripping with wounded indignation. I've been struggling, trying to find a place to live, and instead of helping, you're accusing me of stealing. Do you know how messed up that is? Family doesn't do that. Family doesn't siphon money either, I shot back. Aaron stepped in, putting a hand lightly on Maya's arm. This is getting ugly. Let's just go. No, Mom said sharply, and Aaron's eyes flicked to her in surprise. Nobody's leaving until I know what's going on. The edge in her voice startled me. It startled Maya too. Her mouth opened, closed, like she was recalculating her strategy. I held out the envelope to Mom. Read it. She took it, unfolding the paper carefully, her eyes scanning the text. I watched the lines around her mouth deepen. This is not good, she said finally, her tone almost clinical. She turned to Maya. You changed this. Maya's jaw worked like she was chewing on the words she didn't want to say. I didn't change anything. I helped. She wasn't even using those benefits. They were just sitting there. That's not your decision to make. I snapped. Aaron muttered something under his breath, low, but I caught enough to know it wasn't flattering. Mom's gaze swung to him. Who are you? He straightened slightly. Just a friend. You can wait outside, she said, her voice like a door slamming. He hesitated, but after a long pause, he stepped back toward the sedan, muttering to Maya as he passed. She didn't look at him. When the door clicked shut, the room felt smaller. Mom turned to Maya again. You're going to explain exactly what you did, and you're going to do it now. I told you, Maya said, her voice climbing. It's not a big deal. It's fraud, I cut in. It is a big deal. Mom didn't tell me to be quiet this time. She just kept her eyes on Maya. Maya's shoulders slumped, her voice flattening. I updated her account info on the portal so it would go to mine. Just for a little while. I was going to change it back once I got on my feet. My stomach dropped. Hearing her admit it out loud made it more real than I was ready for. Mom exhaled slowly, pressing her fingers to her temples. Do you understand how serious that is? That's not borrowing a shirt. That's a crime. It's family, Maya said, almost pleading now. It's not like I was stealing from a stranger. That doesn't make it legal, I said. Maya's eyes snapped to mine. You don't get it, do you? I've been drowning, and you're sitting on a raft refusing to pull me up because you're afraid you'll get your shoes wet. My hands curled into fists. No, Maya. I've been throwing you rope after rope, and you keep tying knots in it until it sinks. The silence after that was sharp enough to cut. Mom looked between us like she was seeing both sides of a coin she couldn't spend. Then she stepped back toward the door. We're going to fix this before it gets worse. Tomorrow morning, we're going down to the state office, and you're going to put everything back in her name. If you don't, she trailed off, but the implication was clear. Maya's face went pale. And if I don't? Mom's expression hardened. Then I won't be able to protect you. I'd never heard my mother speak to anyone like that, not even me. Maya stared at her, then at me. Her voice was barely above a whisper. You're both going to regret this. And she walked down the hall toward the guest room, the door shutting behind her with a soft, final click. Mom didn't look at me right away. She was still holding the letter like she didn't quite want to let it go. Lock your accounts tonight. All of them. I already did, I said. She nodded, then glanced toward the hall. She's not staying here much longer. I can see that now. But the way she said it, it didn't sound like a promise. It sounded like a warning. I didn't sleep that night. Even with my bedroom door locked, I kept jolting awake at every creak of the floorboards. Every time the fridge kicked on, my chest tightened. At one point, around 3:20 a.m., I thought I heard the guest room door open, but when I strained to listen, the apartment was silent again. By morning, I was running on caffeine and nerves. Mom showed up at 8:15 sharp, still holding the envelope like it was Exhibit A in a trial. She didn't greet Maya when she came into the kitchen, just handed her a travel mug and said, "Drink. We've got a long day." Maya shuffled in wearing the same hoodie from yesterday, hair pulled back, face pale. She didn't look at me. We drove in Mom's car to the state office. The ride was quiet except for the occasional turn signal. Maya kept scrolling her phone, her thumbs moving fast, and Mom kept her eyes fixed on the road. I stared out the window, trying to decide if I should be grateful or angry that Mom was taking over. When we arrived, the waiting room was already packed. We took a number, 74. They were on 39. Mom sat with her arms crossed, tapping one foot. Maya leaned back in her chair like she was at the dentist, earbuds in. I couldn't sit still, so I stood near the bulletin board, pretending to read flyers about training programs and tenant rights. At one point, I caught a glimpse of Maya's phone screen over her shoulder. She was in the family group chat, typing. At the benefits office because Opie flipped out about a mix-up. So humiliating. My stomach churned. I stepped away before I said something in front of the whole room. When our number was finally called, Mom and I followed Maya to the counter. A clerk with tired eyes and a badge that read T. Crawford asked how she could help. Mom explained the accidental account change. Crawford's eyes narrowed as she typed. We can switch it back today, but... She paused, looking at Maya. It shows the change was made from an IP address registered to this address. She turned the monitor so we could all see. My address. My internet. That's mine, I said. Maya's voice was smooth. See? It was her account. I was helping her and accidentally put in the wrong number. That's not what happened, I said quickly. Ma'am, Crawford interrupted gently. Do you want to file a fraud report? The question dropped like a stone. Mom looked at me, her mouth a thin line. Maya's eyes went wide, like she hadn't expected it to come to this. No, Mom said before I could answer. We just want it fixed. I opened my mouth, but the look she gave me shut me up. The clerk nodded, made the change, and handed me a confirmation printout. It'll be back to your account by the next payment cycle. Keep this for your records. On the drive home, the air felt heavier than before. Maya stared out her window, her reflection smirking faintly in the glass. When we pulled into my driveway, she didn't get out right away. She looked at me in the rearview mirror and said, "Guess you got what you wanted." Then she got out, slammed the door, and walked inside ahead of us. Mom put the car in park, but didn't move. You should still change your passwords again. All of them. I did that already, I said. She nodded, but kept staring at the house like she was trying to see through the walls. I'll talk to her tonight, she said finally. But I need you to stay calm until then. When I went inside, the guest room door was shut. A faint murmur of her voice drifted into the hall. She was on the phone again. I caught one sentence before I forced myself to walk away. It's fine. I've got another way to handle it. That night, I woke up around 1 a.m. to the sound of my front door clicking shut. I crept to the window. Maya was walking down the street again, fast, head down. A minute later, a rideshare car pulled up, and she got in without looking back. By the time she returned at 4:07 a.m., I was sitting on the couch, laptop open, phone in my hand. Where were you? I asked. She shrugged. Out. I gestured to the table. Sit down. She rolled her eyes but sat, slumping in the chair. I don't know what you're doing, I said slowly, but if you try anything else with my accounts, I will file a report, and I will press charges. Her eyes glittered with something I couldn't name. Then you better be sure you can prove it. It wasn't a threat in the way I expected. It was worse, calm, calculated, like she'd already thought this through. She stood, walked to the guest room, and shut the door. The next morning, I got an email from my bank. New PayPal account linked to your checking. The email hit me like ice water. I'd changed my passwords twice. I'd logged out of everything. Yet somehow, here it was, a brand new PayPal account linked to my checking, timestamped at 3:14 a.m., right around the time Maya had been out. I logged into my bank app so fast my fingers cramped. The PayPal link was sitting there in my authorized connections list. I immediately revoked it, then went into PayPal's site to see if I could get any info before it was gone. The account name was just an email address I didn't recognize, but the recovery phone number, my stomach turned. The last 4 digits matched Maya's cell. I screenshotted everything. By the time Maya wandered into the kitchen, hair messy, eyes still half-lidded, I'd already called the bank and flagged it. They froze my account as a precaution, which meant my rent money, my bills, everything was now in limbo until they could verify no further unauthorized activity. You touched my accounts again, I said as soon as she reached for the coffee pot. She gave me a flat look. I didn't. I turned my phone screen toward her, showing the screenshots. This is your number. This is your email. Her expression didn't flicker. Could be anyone's. Numbers get recycled all the time. You're seriously going to stand there and lie to my face? She set the mug down slowly. Why would I link my number if I was trying to do something shady? That doesn't even make sense. Because you don't think I'll do anything about it, I said. The air between us went heavy. Mom arrived 10 minutes later, unannounced. She took one look at my face and said, "What happened now?" I handed her my phone. She scrolled through the screenshots, her lips pressed into a thin line. Maya, she said, what is this? Maya's voice was soft now, almost weary. It's not what it looks like. It looks like fraud, Mom said. Maya laughed, short and humorless. That's your favorite word lately, isn't it? Fraud. Like I'm some criminal mastermind instead of someone you're supposed to love. This isn't about love, I said. This is about you crossing the same line over and over until there's no line left. Her eyes snapped to me, sharp. You're so dramatic. All I did was try to help both of us. You think I want your boring accountant money? Please. I'm trying to get us both something better. What does that even mean? I asked. She didn't answer. She just stood there, shoulders squared, like she was daring us to push her. Mom rubbed her forehead. I can't keep defending you, Maya. Then don't, Maya said simply. I've got people who will. She left the kitchen without another word. We heard the guest room door slam, then the muffled sound of her voice on the phone again. Mom leaned against the counter, exhaling hard. We need to get her out of here. She won't go unless she wants to, I said. And she's got nothing to lose at this point. That's the scary part. Mom's gaze met mine, and there was no denial in it this time. Just resignation. That afternoon, while Mom was still there, I printed every screenshot, every bank alert, every suspicious email. I laid them out on the kitchen table like pieces of a puzzle. At 5:12 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. Keep running your mouth and see what happens. I showed Mom. She went pale. At 5:14 p.m., my phone buzzed again, this time a notification from Facebook. Maya had posted a long, emotional status about being betrayed by family and people stealing from her future. Within minutes, the comments were rolling in. Supportive ones, angry ones, ones that named me directly, and then one that made my blood run cold. It was from Aaron. Don't worry, we've got this. By the time I saw Aaron's comment, I knew something was coming. It was just a question of when. Mom left around 6:30 p.m., but not before checking the locks twice and telling me to call her if anything feels off. I promised I would, but the truth was I didn't plan on calling her. This was my house, my problem, and I was tired of needing backup in my own life. At 8:47 p.m., I heard Maya's door open. Her footsteps came down the hall, unhurried. She walked into the kitchen, where I was sitting with my laptop, offline this time, and a mug of tea. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed. So, you've made me the villain. Congrats. How's it feel to win? I set my mug down. I'm not trying to win anything. I just want my life back. She tilted her head, almost smiling. You think kicking me out will do that? You think I don't have friends? Options? I think you've been using me, I said. And I think you know it. Her smile faded. You know what your problem is? You think money makes you better than everyone else. You think because you've got a little saved up, you get to sit in judgment of people who actually have to hustle. Stealing isn't hustling, I said. For a second, she just stared at me. Then she said, fine. If that's how you feel, I'll go. Tonight. The relief hit me before the suspicion. Good, I said. Pack your things. She turned to walk down the hall, but halfway there, she paused. Oh, and you might want to check your emails before you go to bed. My stomach tightened. What did you do? She didn't answer. She just went into the guest room and shut the door. I grabbed my phone and opened my inbox. Nothing new. I checked spam. Still nothing. Maybe it was just another mind game. 10 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Sharp, deliberate. Not Mom's knock. I looked through the peephole and felt my knees go weak. 2 uniformed police officers stood on my porch. When I opened the door, one of them said, Are you my name? Yes. We received a report of identity theft and financial fraud. We need to ask you some questions. My voice caught. What? Who? He glanced at his clipboard. The report was filed by a relative. Maya, last name. I swear the air went out of the room. She's here. She's in my house. The second officer's eyes flicked toward the hall. Can we come in? I stepped back, heart pounding. Yes, but... Before I could finish, the guest room door opened and Maya stepped out, a small, satisfied smile on her face. Officers, she said sweetly. Thank you for coming. I just want my things so I can leave. The first officer looked between us. Ma'am, he said to me. Do you mind if we supervise while she collects her belongings? I wanted to scream, to tell them everything right there, but something in Maya's eyes warned me. This wasn't the place. Not with her ready to twist every word. Fine, I said tightly. Get your stuff. They followed her down the hall. I stood in the kitchen, gripping my phone so hard my fingers hurt. When they came back, Maya had the duffel bag, the box, and a stack of unopened envelopes I recognized immediately. My mail. Those are mine, I said. They were in the guest room, she said innocently. Must have gotten mixed in. The officers didn't intervene. They walked her out, the 3 of them disappearing into the night. I shut the door and locked it. Then I went to my laptop and started typing. Every detail, every date, every screenshot. This time, I wasn't just saving them for my own record. I was sending them to the police myself. Because Maya was right about one thing. I was going to regret this. But not for the reason she thought.